Welcome back, RJB here, and this video is brought to you by StarCraftWorld.net, who has, as of last week, introduced a new little thing to hype up the league, bring in some new players potentially, and to highlight a match and call it the match of the week. I really like this concept, and I got asked to cast this replay as part of this match of the week series that they have thus introduced. And let's see who it is. I could send this replay. I haven't watched it yet. I don't know who it is. So let's get into it and see what we're up with. And it's Jose. Our resident Jose against Scan. Alright, that's a surprise. So, this is going to be the first match of the week for SCW. And it starts off with a cross-map spawn with Jose here on the bottom right corner playing the pink Terran. And his opponent is the newcomer Scan playing the green Protoss on the other side of the map. So this should be a very interesting match, because Scan is a very micro-oriented player and he's been making huge steps of progression in his ability to play fastest map, his understanding, his strategies. He's been doing all sorts of unorthodox stuff that most people probably have never seen, and some stuff that I've never seen either. And that includes all the experience and all the things I've watched from other Koreans. And that's mostly because this guy has come in as a semi-pro slash top amateur normal map player from Korea, and he was pretty much completely fresh and new to fastest map. So he, of course, brings a different kind of approach than most are used to or would expect. Now Jose is trying to cheese his way into this game. He starts off with two barracks here outside of his entrance. After, of course, the barracks there and his base is finished, sometimes people go for barrack supply. He went for I think supply barrack or barrack supply barrack. I think it's the latter. I think he went for barrack supply barrack, so that his supply doesn't get stuck too much. He goes out for a very early scouts the chokes only because he wants to find a Zerg or he wants to find a Terran choke. He finds a Terran choke here, but little does he know that Scan actually went for two gateways into a pile in his choke. This is a very common Korean build where you start with two gateways and then try to harass with two zealots. You get a +1 nexus after the two gateways. Try to harass with zealots, and you pretty much deny any early aggression from a Terran who's trying to cheese, or you deny any early aggression from a Zerg that's trying to cheese you and attack you. It also sets you up for some success in the case you get a Protoss versus Protoss match, because this is random versus random, and Protoss versus Protoss is definitely a possible matchup that you can face. And the very early +1 nexus after the two gateways sets you up for a pretty good economy. And there's a good reason. This is one of the most common builds among Koreans. And Scan has adapted his build, and he's been making it his own with some slight adaptations. Anyway, the aggression is pretty much shut down here because Jose has adapted to the adapted build order that Scan was going for, because he scouted this, he saw it was cross map, which means that the double barrack cheese is not going to work. He's not going to get a bunker rush off. Even if he tried to get a bunker rush off, there's two gateways ready to make zealots, and of course Scan can also pull some probes off of his minerals and block off marines from having access to the bunker that would be made here in the front to deny the choke. So Jose canceled his plans fairly early on. So now it's going to be, how well is he going to catch up? Because he did scout and pull 4 SCVs off his minerals to scout and build this here in the front. So he is at a slight economic delay. He is at a slight economic disadvantage compared to Scan, who has himself a huge economic lead. Because right now he's only on one more worker than Jose, but he didn't have downtime on his workers all that much. Plus, of course, the +1 nexus has already finished, whereas Jose is still making his +1 command center, which puts him at an economic disadvantage. The advantage he does have, though, is that he's shut down the aggression from Scan. So the zealots there in the middle are pretty much useless. But Scan, being smart, discontinued his gateway production because he knows that Jose is not gonna be the aggressor, and he knows he can't be the aggressor himself. So he cancelled all of his zealot production and just went straight on, all in on his tech progression, which is a really smart adaptation from him. And Jose is just really trying to buy himself some time. He's trying to kill those zealots here on the middle, but the zealots just have to run away. Stim upgrade is still on the way for Jose. I think medics might be on the way as well. One is already finished, the other one is on the way. He might try to break this choke here in the front, but Scan, realizing this is an option Jose has, throws down more cannons. And he's not cutting corners on his cannons. He is making 7 of them in total just to make sure he stays safe and stays alive. I have seen replays where Scan does this, and it ends up saving his life, because sometimes some people will try to force their way into those cannons here in the front. He shut that down. He shut down that option really well. Jose now is sending Marines to his sides. He's going to split them up in groups of 3, 1, 1, and here 1, 1, 1 as well. That he has at least has some vision of shuttles trying to fly into his base. You might want to lift this up though and build a choke here in the front, because this being out here with this wide open space around it makes it very easy to engage on and kill. If you build it here, you kind of reverse a situation where you have the surround and the spread on anything trying to enter your base. Right here, everything has a surround and spread on these buildings. So that is something you might want to lift and move to his choke there, so he at least has a choke up and running and doesn't have to reinvest all those minerals he put into this into building a choke here. Well, he can just lift this and place it there and save the investment. Double gas, +1 command center finished up. He's got siege mode and a tank on the way, another barrack there as well. Marine range also on the way, and of course he's making a couple fire bats because there's a bunker here. If you put fire bats in the bunker, zealots are pretty much shut down completely. So that's the start of the wall. 2 more gateways coming out for Scan. He has a really peculiar, interesting way of building his gateways around 3 pylons. It's very efficient, but it does make it a bit harder to... It's not the most efficient use of pylons. I mean, it is efficient use of pylons, but considering you need so many pylons regardless, you might as well just change it up a little bit. But it doesn't really end up hindering him all that much. So, right. The Zealots have their speed upgrade fitted. No, I thought he had speed upgrade on the way, but he doesn't. He does have 2 Reavers there, though. Who's going to tear this down here in the front, tank here in the back, which is actually just well enough placed so that if a Reaver does land here, it cannot attack the bunker because it will take damage from the siege tank. So that's a smart setup from Jose. So first he starts with taking down this here in the front, but there's nothing, of course, in the bunker. But Scan doesn't want to take the risk of taking damage on any of his units or his Reavers if there was something in the bunker. Realizing there's nothing in the bunker, he goes for the attack the barracks there. So just filling out his base here with the gateways, and this is like a pretty nice configuration of gateways. Storm upgrade almost finished up, the shuttle speed almost ready as well, and left 1 weapon for his zealots also soon to be finishing up. 2 more Reavers here. Here he tries to go in for the attack on the front. I missed this first exchange, but he killed a couple of Marines with the Reaver shuttle micro. 1 Reaver did wind up going down. This is a case where he tries to go in, lands 2 Reavers here in the front, hopefully outside of the range of the tanks. These tanks usually would be sieged up here behind the bunkers, but he's placed them in between the bunkers, a little bit more to the front. It does expose them more to zealots, but it also protects the depots here in the front and the bunkers from Reavers. So it's kind of a trade-off, something positive, something negative. But now the depot there in the front walls it all off. There's still the chance to walk in here through the top side though. But at least he made only a tiny hole for Scan to walk his zealots through. And of course there's fire bats in the bunker that would immediately attack those zealots. So he has shuttle coming in over the bottom side of the map. Jose will spot this out with his Marines here on the bottom side as well. So he's got that going for himself. Cannons being placed here as anti-tank drop. And this is mostly just pylons to open up supply space. Now armor and shield on the way as well. Scarab damage upgrade on the way as well. Zealot attacks almost finished up. And level 1 marine weapons coming in for Jose on the other side. There's no Corsair, so one of these shuttles will die. He's going to unload here on the side. Managed to unload 3 Reavers. There's a lot of Reavers there. He's now shooting on the Marines, but they're kind of dudding. The shots are dudding. This is really bad for Scan here. He pretty much got the least possible out of that fight. Plus 2 Reavers, lost a couple of Zealots as well. If only those Scarab hits had not done it, those Marines would have all died and all 3 Reavers would still be alive. So he's not going to get a lot out of this exchange here. He just wind up taking down about 10 Marines and 2 turrets, but that's not what he was looking for. He was looking for a way bigger hit there. So yeah, 2 more shuttles coming out. He isn't cleaning up the Marines here on the side. It would be worth it to send out a Zealots or a Dark Templar to clear out those Marines so that at least these shuttles go in undetected. So yeah, attempt number 2. No Corsair in the mix to take focus away from the turrets. He flies in, the Marine's already there ready to snipe, and he only loads a single Zealot, so that one is shut down by Jose quite well as well. Now Zealot's trying to get some information, or they were just... Alright, so that what happened there is he clicked all of his Zealots to load up into the shuttles. The shuttles are full, but the Zealots are then going to chase the shuttle as it moves around the map. That's what happened with those Zealots there. So here, more pylons because he needs more supplies. Cap, another robo. There's the 2 Stargates for the Corsairs that I mentioned earlier that are going to take focus away from the shuttles. And still no cleanup on those Marines on the side. So Jose will see all of them fly in once again. Jose has very little here in the front. Most of his defenses are here on the side and in the back. I'm gonna take a sip of water before this drop flies in. We've got a fleet beacon on the way for Scan. This time also tank weapon upgrade for Jose. He's got all the armor is finished up. There comes the drop. Drop starts to unload. He has to unload there on the side. Storms on the Marines. Kills most of the Marines there on the side. And morphs the Templars into Archons. And once again, not a lot of damage dealt. A little of an itch in my throat. I'm not sure why. He kills most of the Marines there on the side, so at least he makes the next attempt a little bit easier to hit. You can also try to fly in from the top side here, but the downside of flying in from the top side here is that there's a lot of tanks here, and here you can pretty much free fire on armories and depots. Scan hasn't really been able to put a dent into Jose. Jose is very slowly catching up. He's got a lot of bank floating, but he's just comfortably building up and getting bigger and stronger. Scan now has another big drop, 4 shuttles loaded up with Zealots, pretty much just Zealots here. And I assume he's going to fly it in behind the wall here. It's a very common strategy in the Korean scene where you go in, load up some shuttles and fly in behind the wall because all the units the enemy has are located around their main. Fire bats here though inside those bunkers are doing huge work in peeling down the onions that are the Zealots. Their shields are gone, their HPs are gone, and he winds up holding this relatively easy because most of the Zealots have come down to the fire bats in the bunkers. It is truly their greatest counter in that fire bats and bunkers really do a lot of work. But the front choke winds up going down, so now there's a wide open hole here for Scan to run into, and he's going to keep using that hole there in the front to keep going in. Sets up his Corsairs with his shuttle so he can fly in for a drop on the minerals. What is going to hit? I don't know. He goes in, the shuttle is a little bit too far in front, pulls it back. Pulls back Corsairs as well. He wants another shuttle in the mix so that one can unload Zealots and take focus away. Plus the shuttle with the Templars in the back flies in, starts to unload on top of the tanks. Will he get a storm off? There's the Templar. He gets 1 storm off, but he actually hits the wrong side, but nonetheless gets about 19 kills. Now Zealots coming in through the front, take down a factory there, and they run themselves into the Marines trying to at least kill something. And they do wind up killing something, but most of the deaths on Jose's side are because of the tank splash damage. Yeah, the front here is now complete darkness for Jose. Scan has been doing quite well with the pressure. He's now got added on a total of 8 robotic facilities. Got more upgrades on the way there as well. There's a second cybernetics core for more air upgrades. He's got armor on this one because armor on shuttles is actually quite good to defend, to make sure those shuttles make it through all the way because they die a little bit less quick. 1-1 on the Marines now for Jose. Shuttles come in, shuttles get taken down, shuttles not yet unloading, shuttles unloading on top of the tanks there. So at least a couple of tanks there get taken down in the back. A couple of Zealots coming in through the front, ready to take those Marines out and keep the pressure up on Jose. But the damage is not all that substantial. The biggest problem though is, or the biggest blow though is, that Jose now has less main defense. But I think he's going to relocate some of his tanks closer to the front, which means even less main defense. But at least he's setting up his tanks here in the bottom corner, so this bottom corner is now covered by the tanks. It's pretty smart. This side here is also covered by the tanks. This is pretty much a setup gold SCV, aka lead bug we would use. He would just siege up his tanks in between his factories and pretty much everywhere around his base, so that every single little area in his base is covered and protected by tanks, making it really hard for the Protoss to continue on with the drop strategy, making pretty much the only option the option of carriers. But Scan is still gonna keep trying with the drop pressure, because one good hit can make... Ooh, he uses disruption webs to take care of those turrets. That's really smart. Takes the disruption web on the tank there as well. Now starts to unload next to the SCVs, but a lot of SCVs have already dodged the storm, but he gets a pretty good storm off nonetheless, but doesn't kill all that many SCVs. Still some SCVs here on the minerals, but that's negligible. Zealots are clearing out the bunkers, and now they're gonna die to the Marines, but at least they got some results. Those disruption webs, though, were absolutely monumental. These turrets here on the bottom corner completely useless. The tank that was there also completely useless, and at least he got something done. Killed 3 turrets there, killed a couple of SCVs, killed tanks and 2 bunkers with the Marines in them, and that's a huge blow. Now, of course, he goes in again with a frontal attack, but the frontal attack, I think, is not going to do a whole lot. Trooper shuttles coming in from the bottom corner, but they fly into turrets, so they die. And the Zealots now running into their deaths. They do take down a chunk of those Marines there. A chunk of those tanks on the top side also going down, but most of the damage is splash damage from Jose's own tanks hitting his own units. So 1-1 upgrades, almost on 2-2. Marines on 1-2, also almost on 2-2. Zealots on 1-1-2, soon to be on 1-1-3. And Scan now starts up with the container on the middles, making those cannons to keep Jose blocked into his base. Jose is pretty big now, he's got a lot of them barracks. His factory count is not all that high. He's got 5 and 3 for a total of 8, and only a single starport. So actually, it would be a really good moment or chance for Scan to change into carriers. He does get a great storm off there before the EMP lands, but nothing really substantial. Jose seems to be pretty cozy and comfortable. The drop leaves the base, Courser's there to assist. If he can get this one in and hit the SCVs just once, it will be a huge turnaround, because Jose's bank is not all that big yet, so hitting him now would really secure Scan a lot of time to keep on hitting Jose, because Jose is moving out here, maybe a little bit prematurely, because his ability to reproduce and rebuild his mass is not that big. So he goes in from the bottom side. 4 shuttles make their way in. One of them goes down, starts along the top of the bunkers. Jose dodges the storm with the SCV, sends them to another base, so he is safe. And Scan does wind up dealing a little bit of damage. A lot of SCVs go down, bunkers go down as well. Tanks in front have meanwhile taken out those cannons there before they could really become a really big nuisance. And now the pressure is, I think, being flipped onto Scan. Now Jose is very close to hitting critical mass, where he can start producing more tanks, more Marines, and keep sending them out to fight against Scan. But first he has to pull back, because a mass of Scan Zealots is coming in over the middle of the map in an attempt, of course, halt Jose's advance. Jose's minerals are lower than I thought they would be, but that's because he had to pull off his workers non-stop. Templars unloading, Templars get stormed off on the tanks and the Marines. A lot of Marines are going down, so at least Scan managed to hold Jose back for now. More Zealots coming in. He's setting himself up for a really big drop here, but mostly once again Templars and Zealots. Level 2 armor and level 2 weapon on the way for his heir. Where's the Corsair? I want to see the Corsair so we can see the upgrades. Actually, 1-2-1, so it's level 2 weapon and armor on the way. Level 2 shields already finished up. Level 3 weapons here. Level 2 armor, he's doing pretty well. He's made a lot of gateway expos. No carrier expos yet, but gateway expos might just be enough. So this time Dragoons in the mix here as well. Zealots going into the front, Dragoons are in the back. Drop comes flying in over the left side of Jose's base, makes its way all the way in, and there is the storm dodge. Gets a pretty good storm off, and actually the SCVs get stuck behind the factory. The SCVs are pretty much just low HP. There's medics there to heal them up, so that's not going to be a problem for future drops. The attacker in the front actually clears out a lot more tanks and marines than I expected it to. So a lot of those dragoons are actually staying outside of tank range. At least now they're not. But while they were fighting here, they were staying outside of tank range. And maybe some SCVs also went down there to the dragoons, as the SCVs were dodging into the dragoons. So that might also have been a reason why the supply count suddenly dropped by about 30. Small attack once again coming in. It's pretty much just there for tank splash damage, because they're not going to deal a lot of damage themselves. It's mostly just the tanks that are going to deal damage to their own units. Jose still on the hind foot. He's making Dark Templars, but there's no mind control. He's going for Maelstrom. Maelstrom is a really interesting choice because I once saw Brain do this little trick where he flies in with a shuttle drop, puts Dark Archons into the shuttles, and then Maelstroms on the SCV so that they stop moving. And then you storm them. It's a really, really smart little move. If it works, it looks absolutely amazing. So don't worry, Scan is not going to use Mind Control because Mind Control is actually banned in StarCraft World. You are not allowed to use Mind Control if you use Mind Control on a worker. That is, you can use it on units, but not on workers. If you Mind Control a worker, you automatically lose the game. Unless, of course, you kill that worker instantly. As long as you don't build with the worker that you Mind Control, you lose the game. He comes flying in, a couple of those shuttles will take some fire from the Marines, but he manages to unload really well. There is the Dark Templar, Dark Archon. Dark Archons don't get a Maelstrom. He gets a triple storm off. Triple storm there, but none of the SCVs go down because they pretty much moved out of the storm immediately. And you can only layer 2 storms on top of each other. The third storm is pretty much negated. It doesn't do any damage. Jose moving out once again. He feels comfortable and strong enough to go on the offense. He's added on a couple more factories, lost a couple of barracks there on the side, but he's moving out. The downside of moving out though is that once he is on the middle and he loses those tanks, he has a lot less main defense here for his minerals. It's pretty much only 5 tanks, 6 tanks they're defending, and 2 barracks that are empty. It's only just those 6 tanks. But he winds up winning the middle fight here with his 2-2 upgrades. Scan on his 3-3 upgrades might win if he gets a surround off. Jose scanned this base here on the side, so he wants to clear that out first before going for the main base, because having those gateways producing zealots and coming in from the side is a huge pain that you really have to deal with, because they might always... like, if you're here on the middle, your tanks are there, zealots are coming in from behind, they come in from 2 sides, they can win the fight and get a great surround off on your tanks, which is when your tanks are weakest. Templars unloading, Templars get a storm off on the tanks. Tanks now pulling back because the zealot count is simply too high. Jose is trying to rebuild, but his minerals are really low. Because he's always feeling that constant pressure from Scan, so he has to pull back to his own base. The safety of the drop comes in. There's only a Templar in there, but that's never going to make its way through because there's Marines in the way, and if you drop a Templar, the purpose of the drop is pretty much negated. You want the Templar, of course, to reach the minerals. So this time, Scan makes his way in. He goes for turrets there on the top side, to at least get something done. And those zealots, of course, triggering splash damage from the tanks from Jose. More zealots come streaming in. Let's see. Oh, he's got a lot of Reavers there. That's a lot of Reavers. That's a total of 11 Reavers. That might even be a number 12 here in production. There it is, number 12. He cancels it. There's number 12. Number 12. So a couple more shuttles on the way as well. The attacker on the front didn't do all that much damage. It pretty much just killed those 1 or 2 tanks. Those turrets are on the top side. Maybe 3 tanks. A couple of Marines. At least it did prevent Jose from going on the offensive again, because Jose has been forced to defend. He wants to go on the offense once again. Whether that is really that smart, I don't know, because I think he should fill up the gaps in his base. Yeah, he needs a couple more starports as well, just in case. Starports would be really amazing against all these shuttle plays that Scan has been trying to do. He's pretty much been relying only on tanks and Marines and nothing else. Zealots coming in from the side, ready to try and slow this attack from Jose down. More zealots being produced here as well. Scan has got a lot of Templars. If those Templars hit some really good storms, you can shut this down. You can shut down this attack as well. Where are the shuttles? There's the shuttles. A lot of Reavers. No Corsairs though. But he might just fly in and load here on the side. I think that's what he's gonna do. He might wait for the Corsairs to be flown over the map as well, because just those shuttles, he's going to lose at least one or two of the shuttles before all the Reavers are unloaded. Yeah, I missed the storms around the middle, but the storms on the middle must have been amazing because he cleared out that entire mass from Jose. I don't think he used the storms actually. Oh, he storms the vessel there as well. They won the fight out in the middle. I'm sorry for skipping away from it. Tapper's now going into the base. Jose lost a lot of tanks and is in the process of rebuilding. He's got 104 SCVs. He could kill at least 30 of those. I think he made a lot more SCVs, assuming that he had a lot less SCVs. And he's got pretty much all of his SCVs on his minerals. That's about 80, 90 SCVs on his minerals and about 10 of them mining gas, 2 standing there. That's really hurting his mass size. That's really hurting his mass size because he could have 15 more tanks if he killed about 30 of those SCVs. In theory, you only need 64, or about 60. Because as Terran, your production is really cheap. Anyway, this drop gets spotted out. He moves some of his Marines into place. Zealots are on the side dealing damage. He unloads the shuttles there on the side next to the turrets, and there's no tanks here within range to attack this Reavers. The Reavers are going to have just a free day eating up all these supply depots and all those armories, which is going to hurt Scan a tremendous amount. Kills the tank there on the side as well, which means his entire portion is going to get chunked out. Only this tank can hit the Reavers. The Reavers are clearing this out so ridiculously fast. I think the command center here is going to go down as well. The barracks are already in danger as well. This is a great choice from a Scan here, using those Reavers, which you don't often see used like this. Most of the time people will be greedy and send them right for the main command center. But Scan is smart. He feels like he approaches the matchup actually in the correct way now. Because I always believe that playing Protoss for this turn is like trying to peel an onion. The Terran being the onion. You peel the onion layer by layer and slowly make them smaller in size. Just like this entire portion has been cleared out. Jose has now a very small mass, and if he starts losing any of his units, his mass will be even considerably smaller. Because he doesn't have any supply space. He does not have the supply space, and he cannot afford to lose even more supply space. There, one more depot goes down, 126 supply space. 145 supply, and if he loses more tanks, he will pretty much have only SCVs, which he has 95, which is a lot of SCVs. That's way too many SCVs, and that's definitely hurting his ability to play the game now. Some more Zealots coming in here from Scan. They're going to wriggle their way in between those tanks, and the tanks are going to take themselves down. Zealots, of course, deal a little bit of damage, but it's mostly tanks taking down tanks. This entire portion now, the entire left side of Jose's base is gone. And now he is forced to rebuild with a very tiny mass size. And a lot of minerals that he's not able to spend. Well, you can spend them on buildings, but there's of course the Reaver here on the bottom side, preventing him from building anything here on the bottom side. This tank though is going to take down the Reaver very soon, or it might just be outside of its range. And now Scan all has to do is just send in units and keep reducing the army size of Jose, or keep him small. You can go here on the side, send units here to the side, run them in from behind even. Alright, yeah, this is a really methodical play. Scan's size has basically been reduced in half. Shuttle tries to make his way through because taken down by those 2 Marines there. And Marines in the bunkers as well? Marines in the bunkers as well. One more shuttle comes in, shuttle is empty. A lot of robos here on the side. Where is all this supply space gone to though? Where's all the supply space? I don't know. He's making 34 Zealots at the same time, so that's where it is. 34 Zealots because he's got like 50 gateways on the map. Great Storm's coming down here. This time he hits Jose really well, but this actually helps out Jose more so than it helps out Scan, because Jose had so many minerals that losing SCVs actually helps him open up supply space for a bigger mass. The downside is though, he pretty much has no buildings to reproduce or rebuild his mass with. And now those 34 Zealots and Dragoons that Scan had in production at the same time are moving out over the middle of the map, moving into the entrance, going through the choke, and ready to tear down Jose, who's standing on his last feet, his hind feet at the back against the wall. Templars making their ways in. Templars actually get stormed. Only Templar there in the back still has energy. They're all turning into Archons now. Zealots are making their way in between the factories. The drop comes in as well. Marines stimming to the front, trying to take down the Templars, and everything is being dropped, but it's only Zealots. Wait, there's a Templar there as well. Templar storms, takes down the remainder of Jose's SCVs, and Jose now has no SCVs. But he does have 23,000 minerals. But the downside is he only has 22,000 gas, which is really painful for him. Because he only has factories, where he can either make vultures or tanks, but there's so many units and he's got so few factories that Scan just has to keep sending in Zealots and Dragoons, and he will very slowly keep reducing that army size of Jose. Once again, Scan recognizes a weakness in Jose's setup, because there's nothing, no tanks within range here to take down those Zealots and Dragoons on the side. So once again, he's going to lose those very dear supply depots that he's rebuilt with so much effort once again, and have his supply space reduced once again. Scan sends more units to the bottom corner there and starts firing on the depots. More tanks are spawning very slowly from Jose, but his gas is the limiting factor. He's got no gas mining at all, but 19,000 minerals. So he can make vultures and about 8 more tanks. But Scan is not giving it the time, because Scan is sending in another huge mass in between those factories, and his Zealots are getting on top of these tanks, and now you're on the bottom side as well. Those Dragoons are closing, inching in closer, taking down this entire portion here already. It's only a single tank there protecting these refineries and his command center, but now the Zealots are on top of that tank as well. The tank is being repaired. No, it goes down to its own tank to the splash damage, and now more Zealots are entering the defensive matrix there as a last-ditch effort. But this game is over. Scan has peeled the onion and taken down layer of defense after layer of defense from Jose, who was a little bit impatient and should have plugged up the holes before moving out. And probably got him Valkyries as well, because Valkyries would have done a huge deal, or perhaps going for raids. And Jose leaves the game without calling the GG, and Scan takes home the win after 31 minutes and 9 seconds. Really interesting play there from Scan. Very different from what we usually see. Very gateway reliant. No carriers used at all. No recalls used at all. And no mass cannons on the middle, which I really appreciate. It goes to show you don't need mass cannons as long as you can keep up non-stop pressure on the Terran, which is pretty much what Scan did. Non-stop pressure in a lot of different ways. A lot of it was shuttle reliant, but a lot of it was also Zealots just continuously finding a way into Jose and preventing him from moving out. And when he did want to move out, he just had Zealots and Dragoons, of course, and Templars there ready to surround and stop it. And because Jose's base was still rather small in terms of production ability, Jose could never ever mass out all that hard. Also, being forced to pull his SCVs off of his minerals non-stop continuously also slows down your income tremendously, because every single time all those SCVs have to restart the entire mining process, which is a really slow and tedious process. It takes about 30 seconds for them to start mining again at full capacity. So if you force a Terran to pull off their SCVs at least once a minute, you can halve their income, which is really a really big tool for the Protoss. So in that regards, I always think it's a really great choice to at least get Raids or Valkyries to stop those shuttles, so you don't always have to pull your SCVs off the minerals. But nonetheless, really well played match from Scan. Once again, a video from StarCraft World with Scan and Jose, which has pretty much been a trend. Most of my SCW videos have been Jose losing. Usually I selected those myself. This game got sent to me, so I didn't have much of a choice, but I do think this is a worthy match of the week, because it really displays a nice Protoss versus Terran that isn't carriers, which I really like, and it's not spot abuse, which I also really like, because I hate spot abuse, and I dislike carriers a lot. So yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed this one, and yeah, hope you come back for more. And if you're interested, you can always sign up at starcraftworld.net, which is www.starcraftworld.net, where you can play 1 versus 1 fastest map on the Western map. And if you win the season, you get into a top 5 tournament. Well, at least the top 5 ranked players on the ladder enter themselves into a top 5 tournament where they battle it out to take home the prize. And this time for this season, season number 17, the prize money is $150. And it might still go up to 200 or 250, who knows. But if you feel you have a chance to win that money, sign up, enter the league, and play to your heart's content to win the season and become a season champion in StarCraftWorld.net. So thank you for watching, and hope to see you again next time.